When someone gets to our web checkout, 93% of them actually download the app, which is a really strong number that we recently found. I think our trial conversion rate is like 68% up against our industry average, I think is 38%.
Yeah.
It's not because our offer is amazing or our checkout page is amazing or the copy of the button or the countdown timer.
And it's expensive, $25 a month.
I really think it's actually just a signal, like those stats are just a signal that trust has been built before the paywall.
Yeah.
So when they get to the paywall, it's not feeling risky to them. It's not feeling scary. They're not feeling hesitant or sketchy. Like, is this legit? Like, They already trust us because they've already been connecting with us, whether it's connecting with our content or connecting with us on socials or in DMs or emails. And there's a lot of other stats that we have that kind of just go back to that same thing. Is like, yeah, it looks that good because we have a real connection with our client. And I think our brand comes through as authentic, and I think that's my founder-led growth approach.
Hello, I'm your host, David Bernard. My guest today is Nancy Anderson, founder of Natal, a fitness app for women. On the podcast, I talk with Nancy about why authentic founder-led content outperforms, tapping into HSA payments to unlock a whole new audience, and the growth lever no dashboard can measure. Hey, Nancy, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. We've been looking forward to it.
It's super fun to have you in person. We are at the MAU conference in Vegas in a little podcast studio just off the Strip. And I always love doing these in person because it's just so much fun having a human here.
Face to face,
Zoom box.
in the flesh.
Yes, it's great. So thank you for making the time and really excited to chat today.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to kick things off with your origin story. We don't always dig into kind of the origin story of apps and try and, jump right to some tactical stuff. But I think you have a really interesting origin story that really relates to, how you've built your business. And so I did want to start there. So what's your background and then what led you to build apps?
Yeah, so I'm in the fitness industry by trade. So I started when I was 18 working in gyms, and I realized very early on that I wanted to be in the fitness industry, but I didn't really know how I was going to make a living in the fitness industry. I think I Googled how much does a trainer make when I was first thinking about it.
Much.
And the average was $18,000 a year. And I was like, not great, but I'm going to figure something out, But yeah, I started in person working with mostly women, but Gen Pop, one-on-one. And I did a lot of group training, a lot of big classes, worked for group fitness studios, and did that for a very long time. And the type of trainer I was really just I really like to connect with people in person, figure out what motivated them, what built their confidence, what they needed, what resonated. And then most importantly, what kept them committed and coming back over time, Right. So for 10 years plus years, that's all I did. In person, full book, locally. I did it in Baltimore, which is where I started, and then moved to California and built a new book in California. And then over time, I started realizing, actually early in my 20s, that there was this big gap in the market. A lot of women that were starting to get pregnant or were thinking about pregnancy or rehabbing post-pregnancy or getting back into fitness after having a baby were having all these issues and symptoms, and there really wasn't any support for them. There wasn't really any programs out there that were doing it well based off of science. There was a lot of fear and misinformation that was out there. And I realized way before I even thought about having kids myself that I wanted to serve this population. My goal's always been, I wanted to go in the fitness industry, but not just to make a living and to do whatever, but really add something to the industry where I felt like when I was done my career, it was leaving the industry a little bit better than I found it. That's always kind of been my goal, I guess.
I like that.
And I just was gravitated towards that niche, that population of pre and postnatals. They don't really have what everyone else has, Gen Pop, all the options that Gen Pop has for fitness. It's pre and postnatal don't have that. And what they did have was so outdated and misinformation and was not even following the science. So I started working with them more and more, still Gen Pop though. And then eventually I went to working with only Relate with moms mostly. And then I wanted to go online. So I started with digital programs online first, and I still had my full book in person. So I was basically doing both.
And did you start first as an influencer? Did you start posting fitness content and that started to grow, or you started right away with courses?
Yeah, I think I had 5,000 followers on Instagram.
Okay.
When I started my like business online, and it was all like high school friends, college friends, and then just people from the community that knew me through fitness, you know, through my gym or training with me or friends, whatever. And I would post like fitness quotes. Like back then, like you just had still images, you know, and you were posting like motivational workout Wednesday stuff. So yeah, it just went small. But what I did when I first launched my first digital program, just because I had done it so much in person, I was like, I want to get a group together to do this together. Like group training, there's just like a momentum behind getting a community active and engaged with each other in any capacity. And I thought, well, I do this in person all the time. I run challenges in the gym and I do group training. Like I saw it at my classes. It's this like family mentality. Like, why can't I create that online? I think I can, you know?
Yeah.
So then I launched a challenge for my first digital program that I launched, and I had 100 people sign up. And I was like, wow, like that's like so many people. And immediately I was like, I need to capture before and afters. Like day 1, take your picture. Day 30, send it in. Whoever wins a challenge wins X, Y, and Z. I forget what I did, $100 or whatever it was. And, you know, I had like 50 people complete it and like submit these before and afters that were like incredible. They had like amazing transformations, and I coached them every day online in Facebook groups. Like I was coaching in Facebook groups back then, not like in an app, you know? And then that just kind of snowballed. I was like, okay, I did that in January. Like I thought New Year's resolution, that'd be a good time to launch this. And then it went so well. I was like, let me try it again in February. And in February I had 125 sign up. And I was like, oh, okay, let me do it again in March, you know? And then it just kind of like snowballed. And the before and afters I used as marketing, obviously, but just all organic to 5,000 followers. Nothing paid, nothing sponsored. Like I don't even know if Instagram ran ads, honestly, back then. You know what I mean? It was like 10 years ago. So it kind of snowballed into that. You know, I did more programs, more challenges, and I was just in Facebook coaching them. I was coaching them, only me, party of one. Like no one else was working for me at that time, you know? And it just gradually grew, like word of mouth. They told their friends about it. They had a good experience. It was no ads for years. I didn't do anything paid, you know? No paid media, I mean. And then, you know, after I did the digital program thing for a while, then I went into launching white label apps. So then I had a few different apps, like actually 4, to be honest with you. Which in hindsight, mistake. I shouldn't have done that. You know, that was a lesson. I should have just done one from the beginning.
We've had a lot of conversations about portfolios and struggles with the multiple apps, and it's a lot to maintain. It's a lot to drive people to all the different apps, and you think you can cross-sell, but it's actually really hard. So,
It's really hard. And it's confusing for the user, which like creates kind of like decision fatigue. And they're like, I don't know which app to go to. What do I do? You know? So then I did white label apps. And then eventually, a little over a year ago, we finally launched our first custom fitness application, which is one ecosystem that everything else lives into. Those other apps still live and we still service them. And there's clients on those apps that we still coach every day. But we're just not actively like investing on growing those anymore. We're just kind of servicing them as they are and maintaining them. And then Natal, which is our custom application, we launched about a year and a half ago. And that's kind of was like the evolution. And like through that time period, you know, my following on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, grew and grew and grew. And a few years in, we started doing paid ads, which killed it out of the gate for a couple of years until they did that big update, which kind of like hamstrung everyone.
App tracking transparency?
The big Apple one?
Yeah.
I wish I would have, hindsight's 2020, but I wish I would have invested so much more before they did that. But would have been further ahead. But yeah, and then about a little over a year ago, we launched our custom application. So now we're just focusing on growing and scaling, and really just pouring our hearts into that.
Yeah. So I know a ton of fitness influencers sell courses, end up building apps, and you know it's hit or miss depending on their audience and stuff. But it sounds like you kind of had an edge and figured that out early.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like everyone kind of calls me a fitness influencer, but I've never really viewed myself as a fitness influencer. I just think that I'm like a trainer, you know, an entrepreneur, you know. But I'm starting to accept that like that's just the label that I sort of live under, fitness influencer. But, you know, a lot of times the fitness influencer to me kind of represents someone who looked really fit or got themselves really fit, and then they developed a program and now they're going to help other people get fit. It's like that was never my trajectory. You know, I have a master's degree in kinesiology. I've been in the industry for 20 years. Like I started out training people one-on-one and in person for 10 years. I saw hundreds of people, train them every week. You know what I mean? Like different bodies, different goals, different motivational types. And when I went online, in the beginning, everyone was starting to do like sponsored posts. This was before you even had to like disclose that you could do sponsored posts. Like you could post anything and you didn't know if they were getting paid. And I mean, they were making bank. I mean, I have paid influencers to post for us, and we pay them a lot of money, so I knew how much money was like available. But for me, I just could never really like make that like leap to like putting someone else's brand out there instead of my own, because I feel like it kind of dilutes your audience. But something that I also found was like really interesting was that the quality of the audience is actually what matters the most. Yeah. So when I was starting out, like I was just running my challenges and kind of growing, and I would look at like peers, other fitness influencers that had much bigger followings than me. Like I had a friend who had like 30,000 followers, and then like his girlfriend had like 300,000 followers. And I remember I would see her and she looked so fit in her workouts. She looked like beautiful and like had great form. And I was just like, man, like she must be killing it. Like she must be just like selling so many programs and like have such a demand for her training online. And I found out that actually like she couldn't sell anything. Like she was trying to promote one-on-one training and programs that she was releasing, and like no one was buying anything. She had 300,000 followers, and actually she had like a big sort of like endorsement deal, I guess, from this fitness clothing brand that would pay her to like post a certain amount every month, and then she would get kind of like this lump sum every month, But she couldn't sell any programs. Right. And at the time, I think I had like 10,000 followers, maybe on Instagram and Facebook combined. And I was doing like 10,000 a month in sales. Wow. And it was just a party of one, like just me and Shopify and running PDFs. Facebook groups. And PDFs, yeah. Exactly. Wow. And that was such a big lesson for me, because I was so hard on myself of like, I have to like make it to this number of a following to like be able to be successful or whatever. And really, I realized like at 10,000 followers, I was already succeeding more. But the difference was, in my opinion, was not just like the quality of audience that she built. I'm not sure how people get their audience. Yeah. Sometimes it's like a quick viral whatever, and then you just have this audience, but they don't really know you. They're not really engaged. But the way I like nurture the relationship with my clients, like I treat them like they're friends and family. Like I treat them like they were with my clients in real life, which like I was invited to my clients' weddings, and I would go to their house for dinner, and we go out together. It's like we're really have a real connection, and I love them. And, I think of my audience online in the same way. And I think that when you have that mindset going into building an audience, like people can feel that you genuinely care and you really want to connect. Yeah. And that kind of sets us apart. And then the other thing is there's so many fitness influencers that they look amazing. And maybe they were so good at training themselves and giving themselves a specific body. But when you don't have practical experience or real education in the field, it's really hard to make an effective program to scale for the masses, because everybody is different. People are motivated differently. People are going to hit different plateaus. Different things are going to go on different people. You can't train everyone the same. And when your only deal story is yourself, well, I lost this weight and I did this thing, it kind of is like, yeah, but like, are you going to be able to give results to everyone? Because you only have this like sliver of experience, where luckily before I went online, I had 10 years of experience and a master's degree and all these certifications that gave me, I think, the ability to not only build like a real connection with my audience, but also deliver programs that delivered real results that like lasted. Yeah. And then that once you have both of those things, that kind of just snowballs, because people want to share their success with their own network and their own communities, whether it's big or small or it's just in person. And, over the years, like the biggest compliment that I receive when people come up in public and be like, oh my God, like I used your program, like thank you so much. They often say like, I tell all my friends about your program. And to me, that's just like such a good sign that like we're doing things right. Like if someone cares and had a good enough experience to tell people in their real life about your product, it's like that is a major sign that you're doing something right, So yeah.
How have you seen the audience building shift with the move to more algorithmic driven content? So like, fewer of your followers will actually see every post of yours. Reels, TikTok, so many of the platforms now are more algorithmically driven. But it sounds like if you actually built a good audience, the audience still sees a lot of your content, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the platform for sure, but like let's talk about Instagram, I guess. That's like an easy one to reference. Stories, for me, like my audience is so engaged that they want to come watch stories. So like if my story views are, 50,000 views and they're all my followers, like very rarely am I getting non-followers that are viewing my stories, but my story numbers are high. And that's where a lot of the intimate like interactions happen where maybe you wouldn't even see it on the outside. Like I'm in DMs every day chatting with people. My coaches, customer service are in business manager chatting with people and connecting with them. So I think a lot of it happens there. So even if they don't see my post on the feed, they're seeing my stories and they're engaging with me in DMs. But also I try to, like, for me, I don't always just post about products because I notice when you post only about product, you don't perform well in the algorithm, And then you have to try to cheat the system, which I just can't get behind, like the excessive many chat stuff. Like I just can't get behind that. Like it just feels so inauthentic to me. Or like having, those Instagram groups where you're like, it's like your fit follow. I don't even, they like label them different things. Like, like my fit club, like join my fit club. And then like you have 20,000 in your fit club. So when every time you post, you send it there and you're like, go comment. And then I'll send you $500, one winner. And it's like, I just can't get like, behind that. You know what I mean? So I try to keep it authentic. And one thing that I do personally is I post content that I know is relatable and funny and engaging or, entertaining to my target audience, which is going to be my following, but also could be other people that aren't following me, So I'll post like some viral ideas that I know like moms will be able to relate to. Or something funny happened in motherhood where I'm like, I think people will get a laugh out of this. I'm going to share it. Or like my husband will do something stupid. I'm like, I'm going to clip this from like our home cameras and like put it up. Because I think it's relatable and it lets people get to know me, the founder, and like my whole strategy is like founder-led growth. So like I want them to get to know me, like I want them to feel safe with me, and like I'm one of their friends. And I think if you read through our comment sections, you get that vibe too. Like they talk to me like I'm their friend, and I talk to them like they're my friend because they are, in a parasocial relationship. So I think that's one way to kind of navigate it is like, don't only post about your product. Like, don't have to be so business. Like, you're allowed to have a voice and you're allowed to have personality and you're allowed to be, vulnerable with your audience. Like, it doesn't have to be this like professional, like, I'm living in this box and I only talk about expert-led things. I want to connect with them. And that connection goes far beyond fitness. So I think that's part of how I navigate that.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. And I would imagine having such an authentic, engaged audience does give good signals to the algorithm so that some of your like one-off posts do end up getting a lot of attention and a lot more reach than they otherwise would.
Yeah, it totally does. Like I think we did an audit recently, which I never knew these numbers until recently, but we did an audit and it turns out like our organic content outperforms our competitors by 90%.
Jeez.
Which I was like, I knew it was better, but I didn't realize it was that high. And I was like, okay, yeah, like that makes me feel really good about my mentality around this whole strategy that I have.
Yeah, and it really is such a different strategy than a lot of people are working on right now. And like, I mean, and not that those others are invalid and they work for different kind of businesses, but I was excited to have you on with this mindset because I think it is a great way to build a great business with this mindset of building trust, building an audience who really cares, engaging directly. Like so many of the things you do let you outperform in that way. Like the other organic content that you're outperforming is like they're manufactured like UGC team that's doing stuff and that can work, but like being a real person, real like you're saying, all the experience and everything else you have comes across differently in a way that's more authentic, that's more relatable, more trust building and stuff like that. So
I mean, my kind of philosophy is like I never want my audience to feel like I'm selling to them.
Right.
I mean, even my own app. Yeah. Like I just want them to know what I do and that I'm an expert at this. And if they ever need me, I'm here and I would love to help you. Like that is what I want them to feel when they consume our content, when they talk to me. Like I'm never in DMs pushing stuff. Like if they're asking me a direct question, of course I'm going to share our product and I'm going to say, hey, here's the link if you want to check it out. But like, and I train our customer service team to never hard sell. Like, in fact, I hired recently, I've tried to hire so many people to help us with content production over the years. And it just like, doesn't really work.
Yeah.
I have a very specific brand voice that like we have to nail. Like words really matter, especially in emotionally sensitive topics or niches like pre and postpartum fitness and health. And healthcare in general, I think it's a very sensitive area. So you have to be careful with what words you use and what you say. But yeah, I'm just like super picky with it. But recently we are trying something new, you know, we're bringing them on and I'm trying to get them to understand the brand voice, you know, and they're sending over these scripts to like review. And I'm like, I'm rewording this. And he's like, okay, so what I'm hearing here is you never want to sell.
Yeah.
Never, you never want any copy that's going to sell. And I'm like, pretty much yes. And at the end, you just want to end it with like a soft sell, like click here to learn more, like DM me to chat. Like that's what I want. Like I just want the connection first because I want people before they get to the paywall, before they're asked to start a trial or even asked to sign up. Like I want them to know who we are, to feel comfortable with us, to feel safe with us, to feel that we're credible. And in order to have her feel those things, we need to connect with her. We need to build rapport. We need to have responsiveness. Like and I think that this is crazy, but I don't think that a lot of brands do it. But this is just, I mean, maybe it's my niche. I don't know. Maybe it's my personality type, but every DM and comment across all social platforms, every email, every in-app post, comment, and DM gets answered within 24 hours.
Wow.
And has been for 8 years.
And by a human, not by an AI system.
By a human. And it's not canned responses. Like these are real people. And yes, we have like SOPs and workflows to make it efficient and make it scalable and make it digestible for like a spend, like how much it's costing us, you know? But our clients deserve to have a human talk to them. Like these are women that have been ignored by their doctors or they have been, you know, not given resources to help them through a very personal phase of life. Like the least I can do is give them a real expert to talk to. And that's the other thing is like, we don't have just like customer service reps. Our coaches, like real life DPTs, real life pelvic floor therapists, real life trainers that have tons of practical experience or are still practicing in person are in talking to them. Like that's awesome. Who they're connecting with. You know what I mean? And yeah, they cost more per hour than a low level customer service rep, but think of the value and the connection that we're building with our client before we ever even tell them that they should buy or ask them to sign up, you know? And I just think that like soft selling for us is just my growth approach is soft selling. Like it really is because in my opinion, like the soft things are actually what determines whether or not someone stays, you know, and like retention is what matters. Like it matters more than acquisition, you know? So for me, it's like, why aren't we, why wouldn't we prioritize that? Like, sure, I can't clearly measure it. I can't clearly measure how powerful it is to invest in all this trust building and relationship building before the paywall or before the trial or whatever. But I mean, our stats kind of speak for themselves, I feel like. You know, when someone gets to our web checkout, 93% of them actually download the app, which is a really strong number that we recently found. I think our trial conversion rate is like 68% up against our industry average, I think is 38%.
Yeah.
So it's like stuff like that. And I don't think it's not because our offer is amazing or our checkout page is amazing or the copy of the button or the countdown timer.
And it's expensive, $25 a month.
Yeah. I really think it's actually just a signal. Like those stats are just, it's just a signal that trust has been built before the paywall. Yeah. So when they get to the paywall, it's not feeling risky to them. It's not feeling scary. They're not feeling hesitant or sketchy. Like, is this legit? Like they already trust us because they've already been connecting with us, whether it's connecting with our content or connecting with us on socials or in DMs or emails or wherever they have kind of connected with us. But I think, and there's a lot of other, stats that we have that kind of just go back to that same thing is like, yeah, it looks that good because we have a real connection with our client. And I think our brand comes through as authentic, and I think that's my founder-led growth approach.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And honestly, I think so much of the industry right now is trending toward, short-term maximization over building long-term sustainable value. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that, and this is why I'm so excited to have you on, is I don't think people think deeply about the trade-off they're making. Mm-hmm. And so you're making a very different trade-off. You could go, scale with tons of UGC, and like, not that that's a wrong approach. You can scale quickly, you can dilute your voice, you can do those things and like build a great business. So I'm not saying, but there's another approach, which, you know, I just really like that mindset of like really building trust. There's a quote, I'm actually in my talk tomorrow at MAU, I'm going to quote Sylvan from a podcast we did a while back. And it's, your paywall is only as good as the story leading up to it.
Oh my gosh, I have I don't have that quote, but in my speech tomorrow, I'm saying something like that.
Yeah, and the truth is, and what I'm going to say is that the story begins with the, you know, TikTok video they saw.
100%.
It begins with the meta ad.
1000%.
It begins with searching prenatal in the App Store. And then that story continues, usually on the App Store or on the web, with them seeing screenshots, getting sold a little, downloading the app, and then getting to the onboarding. And the more you can pack the story ahead with trust, with relatability, with believability, and all those things, by the time they get to the paywall, they're already sold.
Yeah.
And like your paywall conversion numbers are insane.
Thank you. Yeah, our download to trial, I think, is 17%. I get against like a 6% health and fitness average.
Yeah.
It's like stuff like that, you know, and we don't have any growth hacks. I mean, like the hack is
build trust.
Yeah, build trust. Like be consistent and, you know, reliable for your audience over time, and it will pay off, I believe. I find that a lot of, even like brands will do it, but a lot of times it's founder-led brands or fitness influencers are doing all these brand deals or affiliate links, and they're cashing in. And people ask me all the time, you know, like management agencies or like whatever, they're like, you're leaving like $500,000 on the table every year, or $1 million on the table every year. Like if you just did brand partnerships. And I'm like, yes, you're right. Yeah. But that would be like cashing in on my audience. Yeah. And like, that just doesn't feel right for me. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not trying to say that, you know, it works for some people, just for how I have built the brand and the relationship I want to have with our audience. I never want them to feel like I'm using them. I want them to lean on me. You know, I don't want to feel like I'm leaning on them to support, you know. Obviously our app is not free. Like we have, it costs a lot of money to build and maintain and like develop all these features and stuff. So yeah, in a perfect world, everyone gave everything away for free. But I just never have felt right about doing the affiliate link thing or doing a brand partnership and like hashtag ad at the end of it. Like I just can't trade. I just feel like over time that will dilute my brand and will dilute the trust and like they look at me as so authentic and like, is that authentic? Pushing, even if I use the brand, the thing is like I'll post about a brand if I love it, just for free. Like I'll just, if I think it will help my followers, you know, and they could relate. But that's like one thing that I notice a lot. And even brands partnering with other brands. And it's like, I don't know, like, is this doing what you think it's doing long term? Yeah. And I don't know how we would measure that. Maybe you can't. But just my intuition and gut and everything I have seen is like, it's not going to pay off. Like I want to continue to invest in our app and our audience and the results and programs we can deliver to our audience to help them and hopefully it, you know, improve the offerings in the fitness industry for this population and over time add value to the company, not to Nancy Anderson. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think the $500,000 you're leaving on the table is really an investment in that audience, an investment in trust, an investment. And really, you know, the trajectory you're on with the business. I mean, you know, you shared with me, y'all grew 20% in the first quarter of this year. And so like that kind of growth happens.
And we raised prices during that time, which is kind of crazy to think about. But
and that happens as a snowball. And so you're snowballing that trust into a much bigger thing. Whereas if you did dilute the message, dilute the brand, dilute your messaging, dilute your audience, you could cash in the short term, but it's probably going to be worth way more to you in the long run, building that trust and leaving that money on the table. And again, that's where I think there's just, you know.
And just deferring enjoyment of it, I guess. I don't really know. Are you leaving it? Maybe not. You're just rolling it into something else.
Well, and you know, again, I think there's a time and place to just like make hay while the sun is shining. But I think, you know, I think again, as I said earlier, too many apps aren't taking that whole picture into account when they're making these decisions, and those decisions that ultimately do increase revenue in the short term aren't building that kind of snowball that is going to snowball. Even, we talk about on the podcast about like retention offers and like, it's really popular if you dismiss the paywall, then to offer like 80% off. And like those things work. But they also do kind of feel a little icky sometimes. And so, you just have to figure out for your own business, where you want to draw the line. But I love hearing from you building your business this way, because it's a very conscious choice that not as many app builders are choosing that. I feel like the whole industry has pushed harder and harder into monetize as quickly, as big, and move as fast as possible, instead of like building this long-term trust and growth engine that does pay off in the long run and really snowballs, instead of just like burning through users and having high churn and like all those kind of things.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think trust actually drives monetization.
Yeah.
Personally, when you think about it, but you have to be patient, right? And you have to be okay with not being able to measure every single thing. Like you can't measure when you're investing in trust and relationship building with your customer. Yeah, you're not going to be able to measure everything, but you'll see the downstream impact. 20% increase in ARR growth in Q1. It's like, okay, well, the investment seems worth it to me, when you look at it like that.
I know you spend a lot of time talking to users, right? And like something you put in our notes was dashboards can give you numbers, but talking to users tells you why. Yeah. And I think that's exactly that mindset.
Yeah, that's actually how our hero program got built. It's called App Rehab, and it's our most popular program inside of our app. It drives like the most traffic to our app. And at the time, we had digital programs that were launched, and I was coaching them in Facebook groups or whatever. But I was only doing postpartum core rehab, like app rehab stuff in person still, because it's kind of complex. It's like hands-on work. You need something kind of different for each person. So I hadn't yet figured out a way to like build it into like an effective, scalable online program. But I kept seeing like a trend come in with comments, DMs, and inside the Facebook groups that I was coaching, is like women were coming to me asking about getting back into fitness postpartum, asking about symptoms that were directly related to postpartum core rehab. And I realized, because I was like so close to those conversations and so close to those clients, like, oh, this is not a one-off. This is a gap that like no one is serving, or they're not serving well for it to be effective. So I'm going to figure out how to make this scalable, So I did, buckled in, and I figured it out, and I launched it, and we've had over 1 million users use this program.
Wow.
It's 8 years ago is when I launched it, maybe a little bit longer now. And it's still our hero program. It drives the most traffic to our app. It's what we're most famous for. Like, it's the program that most people stop me in public and talk about, like it's that one. And I never would have built it if I wasn't close to the customer, because I never would have heard that feedback. That never would have showed up in my Shopify reports. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And it doesn't show up in an A/B test. Like you can A/B test up and down and price and all the different things, but you're going to lose the why if you're not in that community. And that's another thing I love about the business you're building too, is that you're almost building a community first, and like and then the app is just a way to like make money to build the community. There's like a famous I think it was Walt Disney, like I make movies to make money so I can make more movies. And it's
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly our approach. Like before I got into fitness, I actually have an undergrad in fashion merchandising. So I was in like the fashion world for a little while. Not really glamorous, but I was like a manager at Nordstrom. And that was the first place that I worked that really had high touch customer service. Like you could not say thank you. You had to say my pleasure. You'd have to walk the bag around the counter to hand it to them. You couldn't hand it over the counter. Like you would have to take any return back. You would take it back like with grace. You would never question them. Like you just were so respectful and honoring to the client. And that was like such a good lesson to me. I'm like, people should be treated like this. Like if people are coming in to like buy a high-end product, I mean, ours isn't really high-end, but they should be treated with this kind of like appreciation and respect and like really feel valued and served. And that didn't work out. I think I actually got fired from that job, but I did learn that how important that high-end customer service was. And I took that with me. And that is what I train our team on, is like high-touch customer service. Go the extra mile. Get her the link. If she wants to know what pants I'm wearing, ask me. I will think about that. Like 500,000, 1 million followers across social platforms. And they're like, I want to know where Nancy's necklace is from. I will find the link and send it. And it's not going to be an affiliate link. I'm just sharing it to share it. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you the brand of whatever. Like, even has nothing to do with my product. Like, I will take care of her because I want her to know that I care about her, and I value. I mean, people have a lot of choices. They can follow any fitness influencer they want, but if they choose to follow me and be a part of our community and engage or use our products, like, I want her to feel valued and seen and heard. And if I can do a small part by just answering a DM, like, it's crazy to me that brands don't answer their DMs.
Right.
Or answer anything in their comment section, or they just like it and they don't actually rip it. I'm like, these are people that like took the time out of their life to ask you a question about your product even, and you're not answering it, or about something else, or they're just trying to connect with you and you just ghost them. Like, it's like, talk about leaving money on the table, honey. Yeah. Like, to me, that is leaving opportunity on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to step back. You talked about having 4 apps across different things and then niching down. And something like we've been talking a lot about at Revenue Cat and then just in the industry more broadly is that with vibe coding and the ability to build more quickly, there is an opportunity to very deeply serve a smaller niche and do really well. And it sounds like that's kind of the path you were on, like trying to serve a lot of different needs, but then by niching down is when you really saw the growth. How did that all come together?
Yeah. So, I mean, we had basically 4 apps. We had a pregnancy app, a post-pregnancy app. We had a general population fitness app. And then we had a Nancy Anderson Fit app, which was basically for like, if you fit in none of those buckets, but you want my nutrition programs or you want whatever, and you don't want to see postpartum content, you can go Nancy Anderson Fit app. And it's just like, it's so much. And what we found is like clients want to be in all of it, like, and I don't know, it's just like so intuitive now. I don't know why. Like, I feel like I'm so good with intuition usually, but in hindsight, it's like, duh. But someone that's like working out in your pregnancy app, and then she doesn't want to leave that app to go to another app to do post-pregnancy, and then leave that app to go to another app to do Gen Pop. It's like, it should just all be in one ecosystem, So we kind of made that mistake. And I also realized that, in general population, there's so much competition, which I think if we tried really hard, we could compete. But I'm only one person and it's a founder-led brand. And I'm so picky about how the customers are taken care of and how our brand is perceived and what we put out there, that I just wanted to be too involved to be able to actually scale 4 apps. It's just like crazy. We actually had like 2 other apps scoped that we never even, I went to Max, my husband. I'm like, I can't do it. We have to tell him no. Like, we can't do it. Like, I have to draw a line somewhere. So yeah, it was really that. It was just realizing that everyone really just wanted one ecosystem where they could just stay in for longer. Yeah. And by doing that, we could actually lower the price. Yeah. So we could not only give them more content in one place, we could do it at a lower price. Yeah. Which just created like more value for them, really. And then
the name speaks to the niche you've niched down on is natal, so prenatal, postnatal, and then imagine that like resonates so much more. It's like, this is the fitness app for me because I'm going to have a baby. This is the fitness app for me because I just had a baby, and like that tells a difference. Like we were talking about storytelling, it's like that tells the name of the app tells a story. Yeah, that's who you care about. That's the community you're building, and that's what you're working toward, and that's what you're going to get when you download the app. Versus like if you're a Gen Pop, Nancy Anderson Fitness app. It's like, what is that? Like, I don't know who Nancy is, but natal, it's like,
Yeah, and that's actually one, I think, mistake I did make early on is Nancy Anderson Fit was like the brand for a long time. And that's tough. Yeah. Like, in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have spent so much time building a brand with my name across it. Right. Like, I would have had another name, like Natal, for example. So that's kind of been a soft pivot that we're trying to sort of make, because I have 10 probably coaches, like amazing, talented, very experienced coaches, DPTs, physical therapists working for me too. So it's not the Nancy show. Like, you come in and maybe you're getting coached by Lindsay or Brittany, or Althea, or like these other coaches that work for us who are incredible, So I also didn't want to keep using my name because, one, I just don't want to be the face of the brand forever, because there's other faces and I want them to shine too. Which, talk about like UGC, like I have my coaches create content for us, which I think is a way to do UGC without like making it kind of that like diluted way of doing it. So we scope ideas from my coaches and they shoot those. And that's been something that we're trying out that's working well.
Authenticity, because they were
and they know the clients know them. I mean, so it's very authentic, I think. But yeah, so that would be like one lesson. I definitely, if I could start over and do it, I wouldn't have done Nancy Anderson for the beginning. I would have had a different name that I would have done. But yeah, pre and postnatal is what we niche down to, because that's really where I think we can make the biggest change, the biggest mark. I can leave the biggest like improvement on the industry there. But I love it all. Like I can train anyone, men, women, whatever. But I niche down to pre and postnatal because I think that population is most underserved. The biggest demand is there for us. And we have like the expertise and the experience to fill the gap. So I want to do that for the industry. So
yeah. And I'm excited to see more and more apps launch that take that approach. It's like, there's hundreds of fitness apps out there, and so many of them are trying to, be a massive business. And so then they have to reach everybody. But then when you reach everybody, like you're just competing against everybody else too.
It's very difficult.
And so I'm excited to see all the different apps that get built over the next few years as it's gotten easier to build apps. I imagine y'all have struggled maintaining 4 different apps, and you're white labeling and like, I imagine that's been
tough. Because you're so hamstrung by the software that you get, you know what I mean? So it's been nice to have a custom app where we can basically kind of do and build anything that we want. But Max was actually talking about this earlier today. We were talking about how inexpensive it is to build an app now, as opposed to like 10 years ago. It would have cost like so much money. So the barrier to entry to build an app is like so low now. Like basically anyone can do it. Anyone
I'm doing. I'm vibe coding an app right now, and
exactly.
It's crazy how much I can get done.
Which is awesome, right? Because it gives us even playing field to so many more people. But I think, what we'll find is as the barrier of entry is lower and how it's less expensive to like create these apps, there's so much competition in this space, so much noise in this space. What's going to set your app apart from the rest? And that's where I think the community and the branding piece comes into it, because, and the practical experience, which is kind of for the fitness industry specifically. Because you look at these big brands that have, like Under Armour is a great example, right? They've built this reputation for themselves that kind of like carries, but I love Under Armour. I used to work there, so I don't want to like say anything bad, but if their products aren't as good as their marketing, it only works for so long. And I think if you look at like the stock market for them, and, you can see that they've had a big challenge, So that's just like another example. I always try to like learn from other brands' mistakes. I try not to make all the mistakes myself, So I kind of like look out and like, what can I learn from other people that I don't have to go through that same thing? But I think it just that's a good example of like, your brand can be really strong and your product can be weak, and like that's gonna fizz out eventually.
Right.
Or, your product can be strong but your branding's really weak, and like that kind of is hard too, So you kind of have to have both. Have a really good product but also have like really good branding and a strong connection with your target audience. And I think that will give you the most longevity for growth over time.
And I love what you said there, because and it's really bringing it back to something it's been a thread throughout this whole conversation, is storytelling. Is that like you said something along the lines of like, if you're going to build an app, why? Like, why will people care? And that's the story. Like, what's the story behind it? And so, if you're building a new app, if you're adding features to your existing app, what's the story behind it? Like, why does it matter? Why will it matter to people? And you really need to think through that deeply. And that's how you've built your whole business, is that you actually started with the story, and the app is just like the culmination of the story that you were already building and already telling, which is really cool.
Yeah, 100%. And like the insights really have to come from the customer, like we're really just building what she wants. Like she's telling us the product roadmap, not me.
Right.
And I think that if you have close proximity to your user, it's so much easier to map out your product roadmap and know what features to build. The last thing you want to do is spend $50,000 building a feature no one uses, So it's like when you can hear from your audience, like, oh, there's a real pain point here. What can we do in the app to like fix this? One that we've done recently is like a posture assessment where they can come in and get their posture analyzed by an expert, real person, not AI. And it tells them what they need to work on, and then gives them that first activation, steps like, okay, this is the program to start on. These are the custom routines to add in based off of what we found in your posture assessment. And we found that when women come in and do that, they're like 68 or 70% of them go in and complete their first workout after that, which is like a really high.
Yeah,
I think that's high.
That's
right?
really high. Yeah, yeah.
So it's like things like that where it's like we knew that they would probably benefit from this just from all the conversations we've had with the user. And, you know, part of it is also in the fitness industry is like waiting for people to be ready for certain things. Like for a long time, there was a huge fear around pregnancy fitness. Right. So people didn't want to work out because they were scared. So it was this whole educational period of time where we're just educating on the science. It's safe. It's beneficial. It's going to help your baby. It's going to help you. It's going to help your recovery. And then, you know, people learn and then they're kind of ready for it. It's like the wave is coming, you know? So like the posture assessment is kind of like one of those things. And that's just been one of the activation pieces that we're currently working on. Because that's one thing that we are struggling with. Probably we need to work on the most is getting more wins for them earlier, getting them in to complete the first workout earlier to get them seeing, you know, then once they complete the first workout, then they feel a difference and they see how it's going to go and they're more likely to come back. But it's like getting that first hurdle.
How do you approach that in onboarding and that early storytelling? You know, since you do work, you know, prenatal, postnatal, posture, like all these other things, do you have like a branching logic where you ask a lot of questions early on and then you take the onboarding a different direction and they end up at a different paywall? Or like, is a posture assessment part of onboarding now for the right person, or is it just a web thing? Or like, how are you approaching, like, because you even though you're in the niche, you are serving so many different needs, and that gets complex and then leads to confusion and decision fatigue. And even in a single app, because you do so much, it can have similar kind of decision fatigue as having 4 different apps. So how are you thinking about approaching all that and simplifying it for the user? Yeah,
so I mean, one thing that we definitely see is when women come in and they're overwhelmed or confused of where to start, they don't start. Right. You know, they have like this decision fatigue. They're like, well, I think I could do all 4 of these programs. Which one do I do? You know? Yeah. So we try to help them not have that decision fatigue when they come in. So when they go through onboarding, we don't have a super long onboarding. I think it's probably 10 slides, 10 questions, maybe 15.
That's one of the many contrarian things about your app. Because most fitness
apps don't have time for that.
No,
they don't. They don't want to waste time filling out all these things. Like we ask them what we need to ask them. And this is a big project we're working on right now because we do need to optimize it in certain areas that I think we could improve. But, you know, we have split the app. So you come in through onboarding and you tell us, are you trying to conceive? Are you currently pregnant? Are you postpartum? Have you ever had a baby before? And based off of that answer, the content that's populated in your app once you get in there is completely different. Right. So if you're pregnant, you're not seeing any postpartum content. Right. If you're TTC, you're not seeing any pregnant content. It is only for your phase of motherhood, is what we call it. So that's a big piece that slices it down. You know, I have 50 programs and now only you have 15 or something. You know, it's a big slice down. But then throughout, we're asking about symptoms they're having, goals they're having, how much time do they have to work out, like those kind of things that help us recommend the right programs for them to get started. The posture assessment is only for postpartum right now because we just launched it a couple months ago. We will roll it out to everyone else eventually. That kind of goes hand in hand with like you had a baby, you're trying to rehab your body, not like I'm coming in to like gain muscle and strength and I'm done rehabbing kind of thing. It's more of an earlier postpartum thing. So based off of when you gave birth last, we'll give you the posture assessment kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we kind of filter it down like that. And we have found that too many onboarding questions, people can't get through it and they just get frustrated. And not enough, they're confused when they get in there, they don't know where to start. So it's like, it's this constant like balance of like how much. So we're kind of playing with that right now. We're adding a few more slides that kind of niche down a little bit more of, you know, where to put them. Because we don't want people being confused when they get in the app. But we also are reaching out to them. As soon as they get into the app, like a real person is reaching out to them. Like, hey, just shooting a DM, like, welcome to the app. Like, let me know what I can help you find. And that first, if they connect with a coach or they go into our community and connect, we find through like our stats that they're more likely to come back. Like in our in-app community, if they get in there, they're like 31% of them are coming back on day 2. Wow. 14% are still returning by day 3. You know what I mean? So what we find is it's not really a feature. It's just like an in-app community. Right. You know, something special. But I think it's the validation, the support, the feeling of like, oh, I'm not alone here. Yeah. There's expert coaches in there that are coaching all day, every day, answering your questions, pelvic floor questions, whatever you need. Complex things that you'd have to pay a couple $100s for a session. with a doctor of physical therapy to even get your answers. Well, we're answering them in the community. Oh, by the way, it's for free. You can come in. Anyone can answer those questions. Anyone can ask those questions for us, you know? So it's like that, you know, and helping them kind of get to where they need to be through the community or through coaching or connecting with a coach.
Yeah. And then I would imagine that's part of why you have such great conversion to paid. Is because you get people to that moment of feeling heard and understood, and that they're seeing the right content so that they'd start a program instead of being overwhelmed by 10 different programs. So it sounds like that is pretty key to why you see the numbers you do. And then when they feel engaged and cared for and listened to and like supported and related to and all those things, then retention is so much easier because they feel part of something instead of like less transactional even. Another thing I was curious about with the posture thing specifically, but you know, feel free to use any other example. How do you think about individual features as kind of like lead magnets? You probably would never say lead magnet.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But like the posture assessment is a kind of thing I could see a Facebook ad, and you do run some paid ads and everything. So then how are you thinking about like specific features as those kind of like draw and like something exciting that an ad could be like? Are you thinking even in that way, or is it just like how can we?
Yeah, we actually released the posture assessment to be free, so you can download the app and you can just do it for free. Like you don't have to be on a trial or anything to use it. But we don't like promote it. It's kind of just like a soft launch that we kind of throw out there. Because sometimes, you know, if we get inundated, it's actually real humans. It's our real coaches that are doing it. So I don't want to like overwhelm them necessarily, because we have that 24-hour rule. You know, they have to get responded to within 24 hours. But yeah, we think about it all the time. You know, it's funny because we talk about like lead magnets and stuff. It's like we as a brand, like I've never done lead magnets. Like I don't post free workouts. I don't. You know, and it's not because I don't want to give anything away for free. It's because I think it attracts the wrong type of audience personally, I found. And I think that, you know, the work we do is really valuable and it's complex. And these are real experts that are coaching and that are developing these programs. And when you just throw something out for free, you're kind of like devaluing them too, in my opinion, you know, like. And also, it's complex. So me giving you something for free doesn't mean it's going to fix your problem. You might need custom coaching. And that's why we want you in the app, so that we can work with you and we can customize your approach, you know? It's that high-end customer service thing. How can I give you high-end customer service if I'm just giving you a free workout on Instagram or in a blog post kind of thing? So we don't typically do that. But the posture assessment specifically, I do want to try to use as a lead magnet. We just haven't found... We haven't built it basically in a way where they can just like click and be there, because it's like inside of the app, and they, you know, so that's something that we do want to explore. And I guess we could like test and see if that works well. I don't know, but we do find that a lot of people use it once they get inside the app. And organically, I promote it. It does really well. Like if I promote it on stories, but we haven't done anything paid yet for it.
That sounds like an opportunity.
Yeah.
One last thing I wanted to talk to you about is accepting HSA payments. And this is something pretty new. You know, Revenue Cap, we just did an integration with a company called Flex. Ladder has rolled it out, but very few. And your app, Natal, is one of the early adopters of this, which I think is a really cool opportunity for the health and fitness industry to be able to accept HSA payments. So what was the, like, how did that all come about?
Well, it's kind of interesting because for years, people have been submitting their subscriptions to insurance and getting it covered for pre and postnatal fitness for our app. So I knew that women were looking for this because really we're in fitness, but we also sort of blend into like healthcare a little bit because we're doing pre and postnatal corrective exercise and some physical therapy protocols, you know? So I always wanted to like implement something like this where it would be easier for them, because we always have to say, oh yeah, just you pay for your subscription and then take your receipt to your insurance company. And if you have, you know, dollars, they'll cover it kind of thing. And so many clients would come to us, because I'm in DMs, I hear it all the time, like, hey, just so you know, my insurance covered this. I never heard one client say that it didn't get it covered. So when this came up, And Max brought it up in a meeting and said, like, we can do maybe. And I was like, yes, 100% yes. Like, our clients are already doing this.
Yeah.
They already want this. They ask us all the time if we accept it. You know what I mean? So we're super excited to roll it out. And we just launched it like 2 weeks ago. And we've had like tens of thousands of revenue come through it, but we haven't announced it. Like, people are just finding it at checkout and using it.
Yeah.
But it's cool. They did a really good job, because when you go through the like checkout process, which it is long and a little bit more like annoying, I guess, for the customer.
But it's pre-tax money.
And it's, it's HSA. So it's like so great for them,
Yeah. I switched my Ladder account from App Store billing to HSA billing. Because I know the CEO and know the team and everything, and so I knew they were doing this, and they would talk to us about it as they were working through it. And I had to dig around and like find it, and so it was exactly like that. But it's like it's so it's saving whatever 30-40% on a subscription I would already pay. So it's like, even though it's a slightly bigger hurdle, there's like massive incentive to pay through that method. And then, you're so early, but I would hope and imagine that retention on that is even better, because it's going to come out of those pre-tax dollars. Right. It's like not part of the budget that, when somebody's looking at their monthly budget, and and I would look at this because I don't take freebies in the app industry. And so my wife's on Ladder for $30 a month. I was on Ladder for $30 a month. I was thinking about, the annual, which we should have just gotten on the annuals, but that's like $170. And then that comes out of the budget. And so I see those charges every month, but the HSA now it's just free money that's sitting out there in my Revenue Cat HSA account.
Yeah.
So,
and I think the customers understand what this is. Okay, it's going to be a little bit maybe more painful to get through checkout, but it's worth it. But what we did is we were offering a free trial for it with it. But we only are offering it on our annual subscription. Yeah. Which I think makes a lot of sense, considering. So I guess we'll see how that pays off, but I'm so glad people have found it and are using it, because to me that's just a sign that once we start promoting it or running ads around it or whatever, it's going to do very well if this many people are using it already and we haven't even said anything about it. So we're super stoked for it, and I'm so happy to be able to offer it to our clients, because fitness is expensive, and people, it's a tough time for a lot of people right now, and when something has to go, a lot of times it's fitness. Right. And women write me all the time. They're like, I want to do your program so bad, but I can't afford it. So it's really, I love that we can offer something that maybe it will open up our resources for a new audience that maybe couldn't afford it before. But if they have insurance, that this gives them another avenue. So that was another big piece of why I wanted to offer this, is it's right there. So when someone says hey, I really want to use this, but I can't afford it, we can just be okay, well, if you have HSA, you can do it through here. It's at checkout. So that's another big reason why I was immediately yes, we need to put it on the roadmap right now. Let's put it in. So I didn't realize it was super new though. I thought we were finding out about it late, but I guess no.
Very new, very new. And I think there's been some regulatory changes, and because HSA, it's all federal government and tax, and it's pre-tax dollars. So they're picky about what you can spend and not spend and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's just in the last couple of years that started happening, where you could use HSA, and then we Revenue Cat integrating it. I think we're pretty early. I hadn't heard of many other apps out there accepting HSA until Ladder signed up, and we did this partnership with Flex. So I think you're actually pretty early on this journey, and it'll be interesting to see. I don't know exactly where they're drawing the lines, and I think that's between the app and Flex, not between Revenue Cat and the app.
For what it's classifying, the category?
For what it's classified, and whether it's covered, whether it's not covered, and stuff like that.
Yeah, for us, I think at checkout, they are selecting things related to postpartum fitness. There's a diastasis recti, there's a pelvic floor exercises, there's many options for that. But I didn't see there's just a general fitness one, I guess.
There must be that Ladder's using.
Okay, yeah. I didn't see that on there. But that's great. It should be covered. It's how you stay healthy, you know?
And I have seen there's more, there's other programs out there. I think TrueMed is one where it's you can buy healthy foods through your HSA. And it's and the insurance companies and the U.S. government, everybody should be incentivized to let people spend that money to make themselves more healthy, not just on
100%.
the care once they're not healthy.
Preventative.
And so
it has to be preventative.
so I think it does seem like the tides are shifting. And so then hopefully more and more health and fitness and mental health and other apps. If you're in that space, you should totally check this out, because if you qualify, it potentially could be a huge unlock. So yeah, I'm fascinated by it, and it's really cool that y'all started. And yeah, we'll have to follow up in a year or two and see how see if they retain at a higher or a lower rate, and see what the conversion rates are and things like that.
And I think the big push for it will be end of year, right? Because those dollars don't roll over, so people have to use them. So that's like a great time too. To push campaigns around, like don't lose your HSA. You can use it to do our programs, to use our app.
Very
Free marketing idea.
Yeah. All right. Well, as I do with all guests now, I wanted to ask you 3 questions. The first one: what is the biggest fail of the year? We'll start with fail, and then we'll go to the biggest win. So the experiment that bombed, tactic that fell apart, content that bombed, or you felt like didn't appropriately represent your brand. Any fails that you learned from the last year? Yeah,
so it wasn't an experiment, but I think probably the biggest fail for us was just like, we get a lot of feedback from clients who are looking for different things. So we like build all these programs to like fill the needs. And it's almost like too many programs where they come in and they're just like, okay, whoa, like, what program do I do, kind of thing. Especially with like postpartum fitness. Obviously we do a lot of postpartum rehab. So we have like multiple programs that focus on like prolapse, a hypertonic pelvic floor, early postpartum, ab rehab plus, so now there's like 5, 6, 7 programs centered around postpartum rehab where we were listening to the needs of everyone, right? And building those things out. But I don't think we did a great job, like we talked about earlier, with like the onboarding piece of like, okay, we're asking you these questions and now you need to start with this program, or like you need, wherever you need to go. Yeah. So I think that was probably our biggest fail, because it just creates decision fatigue
and complexity.
And then they end up not activating, and like my big thing is not to just get subscribers. Like I want to get results and value for the people that subscribe. Like that's the app I'm trying to build. So for me, that's like a big panic button where it's like, oh my God, they don't know where to start, so they're not starting. No. We have to figure this out. So that's a huge initiative we're working on right now to fix that failure, basically.
Very cool.
More content isn't always, I guess, the answer.
Yeah, totally. So then what's your biggest win of the last year? Experiment, price change, anything that shifted the needle for you? Yeah,
this is so funny because our biggest win this year came from taking advice from your podcast.
Thank you.
You had Zumba on.
Yeah.
And they talked about removing the free trial from the monthly option.
Oh.
So we listened to that episode and we were like, that does make sense. We should try that. And we did, and it crushed.
Wow.
Like I think our monthly subs like went up by 2,000%.
Yeah.
And our quarterly went up by like 46%. Our annual went up by 21%. And it just, again, sort of validated again for me how much trust is being built before the paywall.
Yeah.
That then they come in, they don't even want or need a trial. They're ready to buy.
Yeah.
So, and it also kind of shows you that like each customer is different, like some people, they know what they want. They come in, they're ready, and they just want to commit and get started. So that was just like a huge thank you to you, actually, for having them on and sharing that knowledge. We ran a lot of experience. We learned a lot this year. We had a lot of wins, but that one was like, I was shocked that it worked, personally. Like, I was like, is that going to work? I don't know. But it worked, and it worked really well. So that's what we've continued to do, and we adopted that as like a permanent offering. So thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you for that.
And then lastly, as a fill in the blank, growth would be easier if
I could get tech bros to buy into it.
What do you mean?
The trust. The trust piece of my founder-led growth approach. Like if I could get everyone in meetings that focuses on data and stats to prove and make every single decision and back up every strategy we have, like if I could just have stats around how valuable trust is, then those meetings would just be so much easier. And then growth would just be easier because I could prove it. Because a lot of what I talked about today, I can't black and white proof, right?
So you can't run an A/B test on trust.
Yeah. Growth would be easier if I could, though. Growth would be easier if I could. So I would say probably that. Like a big, I come, obviously, I bring a lot of intuition and like an empathic sort of vibe to how I lead the company and how I show up at work. And that doesn't work well in tech, So you go to these meetings with, men and women who are just so data driven, all about analytics and spreadsheets and what's the data say. And, well, why would we do that? We can't measure it. And it's like, you can't measure everything in your dashboard. Like, not everything that's important in business will be in your dashboard. So for me, that has definitely been a big challenge throughout this journey, because I want to do both, right? Like, I want to be able to do both really well. So if we could measure trust clearly in data, that would make growth so much easier.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a fantastic encapsulation of our whole conversation and a great place to wrap up. So thank you so much for joining me. This is a blast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor.
Thanks so much for listening. If you have a minute, please leave a review in your favorite podcast player. You can also stop by chat.subclub.com to join our private community.